Physics doesn't negotiate, and fuel exhaustion doesn't care about your feelings. Be me. 48. Senior Air Traffic Controller at Memphis TRACON. 22 years separating metal in one of the busiest airspaces in America. November 8th, 2024, working as shift supervisor on evening watch. About to witness a career end in 8 minutes. Because a controller decided a pilot's tone was more important than his fuel state. Now I'm sitting in NTSB hearing room, February 2026. Testifying about what I saw that night. Looking at 147-page investigation report on the table. Every word of radio transmission documented. Every federal regulation violated is listed. The finding is brutal, unambiguous career ending. Controller prioritized personal grievance over operational safety. Violated FAA Order 7110.65 regarding emergency aircraft priority. Created imminent hazard to aircraft and persons on ground. Let me take you back to that night. Show you exactly what happened. How 8 minutes of ideology versus physics ended a $142,000 career permanently. Memphis TRACON, November 8th, 2024, 6:47 p.m. I'm Senior Controller, GS, 14 pay grade, making $156,000 annually. Been doing this since 2002, worked my way up from Tower Controller. Memphis is major facility. We handle FedEx Super Hub traffic. Hundreds of cargo flights every night. Tight spacing, professional operation. TRACON stands for Terminal Radar Approach Control. We're the controllers who guide aircraft from cruise altitude down to the airport. Hand them off to tower for final landing clearance. High-stress job, thin margins, no room for error. I'm supervising 6 controller positions tonight. Weather system moving through, moderate turbulence, some deviations needed. Busy but manageable, experienced crew. Everyone's handling it well. Except for one position, final approach, critical sector. Controller working final is woman I'll call controller for this story. She's 37, been certified as controller for 2 years. GS, 13 pay grade, making $142,000 salary with locality pay. Came to ATC from different career, got through training, competent enough. But I've noticed pattern in how she handles certain pilots. If they're direct or brief on frequency, she interprets it as disrespect. Takes it personally, gets defensive, creates unnecessary conflicts. I've coached her on this. Focus on separation, not tone. But some pilots are really rude. They think they own the sky. They're busy flying. They're brief because their task's saturated. It feels like they're dismissing me. Your feelings don't matter in the scope. Only the traffic does. She didn't like that conversation. Filed an formal complaint about my management style. But tonight she's working final. I'm supervising. We're professional. 6:47 p.m. Aircraft checks in on her frequency. Memphis approach, FedEx 404 Heavy, flight level 180, descending via arrival. It's Boeing 767 cargo jet, inbound from West Coast. Captain's voice is textbook professional, calm, brief, standard phraseology. Controller A responds, FedEx 404, Memphis approach, radar contact, descend and maintain 10,000. Standard stuff, normal exchange, everything fine so far. But I notice her body language shift. She sits up straighter. She's keying the mic with attitude. I can tell from 20 feet away. 6:51 p.m., pilot requests weather deviation. Memphis approach, FedEx 404, request right deviation 30 degrees for weather. This is normal. There's convective activity on his route. I can see on the radar, he's requesting to go around the cells. Standard request. We approve these all night. Just vector him clear. Controller A responds, FedEx 404, unable, maintain present heading. Wait, why unable? There's no traffic conflict. Deviation is easy to approve. I walk over to her scope. Why'd you deny that deviation? He didn't say please, he just demanded it. He requested it using standard phraseology, approve the deviation. I'll vector him when I have time. He can wait. This is wrong. This is not how we operate. He's requesting weather avoidance. That's safety-related. Approve it now. She's annoyed. Keys the mic. FedEx 404. Approved right deviation 30 degrees. Report clear of weather. Pilot acknowledges, turns right, avoids the weather, continues descent. I make mental note. This is going in my supervisor log. She's making operational decisions based on personal feelings. 6:54 p.m. Pilot requests lower altitude. Memphis approach, FedEx 404, leaving 12,000 for 10,000. Request lower. He's been cleared to 10,000 feet. Now he wants to continue descent. Completely normal. We sequence him down to 3,000 for final approach. Controller, it looks at her scope, looks at me, doesn't respond. Pilot waits 15 seconds, calls again. Memphis approach, FedEx 404, requesting lower when able. She keys the mic, annoyed tone obvious. FedEx 404, maintain 10,000. I'll call your descent. Again, why? There's no traffic below him. Airspace is clear. Normal procedure is to send him now. Get him sequenced for approach. I'll walk back to her scope. Why are you holding him at 10,000? He's being pushy. He needs to learn patience. He's not being pushy. He's requesting normal descent. Clear him lower. I'll clear him when I'm ready, not when he demands it. This is becoming a problem. She's letting personal issues affect her controlling. 7:01 p.m., the critical moment, the moment that ends her career. Pilot's voice comes on frequency, slightly more urgent. Memphis approach, FedEx 404, requesting descent. We're indicating minimum fuel. Minimum fuel, those are magic words in ATC. It's not an emergency declaration yet, but it's serious advisory. Means the aircraft cannot accept any undue delay. They're not in danger yet, but any delay puts them in danger. Federal regulation is crystal clear on this. FAA Order 7110.65, paragraph 216. Handle minimum fuel advisories with priority. You don't have to give them absolute priority, but you give them expedited handling. Normal response. FedEx 404, Roger minimum fuel. Descend and maintain 3,000. Vectors for final. Get them down, get them to the airport, no delays. Controller, it looks at the frequency display. Looks at me. Keys the mic with audible frustration. FedEx 404, everyone's low on fuel tonight. Maintain 10,000. Standby for descent. My blood runs cold. Did she just dismiss a minimum fuel call? I'm already moving toward her station. Pilot responds, professional but firm. Memphis approach, FedEx 404. We are minimum fuel. We need descent now. Before I can reach her, she responds. FedEx 404, I understand. Maintain 10,000. You'll get descent when traffic permits. There is no traffic. Airspace below him is completely empty. She's holding him at altitude because of tone, because of feelings. I'm at her scope now. Clear him down immediately. She's defiant. He's being demanding. I'm managing the sequence. He declared minimum fuel. That changes everything. Clear him now. He's gaming the system. They all do this to jump the line. This is insane. She's questioning a fuel state declaration. Pilots don't lie about fuel. It's federal crime to make false emergency declaration. 7:03 p.m., 2 minutes after minimum fuel call. Pilot's voice, now with edge of real urgency. Memphis approach, FedEx 404. Fuel state is now critical. Declaring emergency. Request immediate descent. Emergency declared. The words that change everything. Mayday fuel, emergency fuel, whatever terminology. This aircraft now has absolute priority over everything in the airspace. FAA Order 7110.65, paragraph 10-1-1. Give emergency aircraft priority handling. Every other aircraft gets vectored, sequenced, delayed if necessary. Emergency aircraft gets direct routing to airport, immediate clearances. Controller A hears the emergency declaration, and instead of responding with clearances, she gets angry. FedEx 404, you don't get to jump the line because you're impatient. I grab her headset, pull it off her head. Physically remove her from the position. You're done, move now. She's shocked. I'm handling this. You're violating federal regulations. Get away from the scope. I plug in backup headset, key the mic. FedEx 404, Memphis approach, emergency declared, descend immediately and maintain 3000. Turn left heading 180, vectors direct airport. Pilot acknowledges, relief obvious in his voice. Roger, leaving 10,000 for 3000, turning left 180, FedEx 404. I'm vectoring him, clearing traffic, getting him to runway. Check the data tag on radar. See his fuel state from aircraft transponder. He's showing 3,000 pounds of fuel remaining. Boeing 767 burns about 6,000 pounds per hour at low altitude. He has 23 minutes of fuel in perfect conditions. But he's descending, configuring, that burns more fuel. And he was held at 10,000 feet burning fuel for 12 minutes unnecessarily. Controller A is standing behind me. You can't just pull me off position. I'm shift supervisor. I did. Go to the break room now. I'm sequencing the FedEx jet, direct vectors to final approach. FedEx 404, turn left heading 120. Intercept localizer runway 36 left, cleared ILS approach. Left 120, cleared ILS 36 left, FedEx 404. 7:08 p.m., he's on final approach. I hand him off to tower, FedEx 404, contact tower 118.3. Tower 1183, FedEx 404, in Memphis, thanks for the help. That, thanks for the help, is pointed. He knows what happened. He knows one controller tried to kill him, and another one saved him. 7:11 p.m., tower reports FedEx 404 landed safely. I check with tower supervisor. Any issues on landing? Negative, normal landing. He's taxiing to FedEx ramp now. But I request fuel state on landing. Need to know how close it was. Tower calls back 5 minutes later with the number. FedEx 404 landed with 1,100 pounds fuel remaining. 1,100 pounds of fuel. That's 11 minutes at landing fuel burn rate. Boeing 767 needs minimum 30 minutes reserve fuel per regulations. He landed with 11 minutes, 19 minutes below required reserve. If I hadn't intervened, if I'd let her keep controlling him, he would have run out of fuel over Memphis metropolitan area. 767 with no fuel is a 200-ton glider with 400,000 pounds of cargo. Wherever it comes down, people die. That's physics. I call facility manager at home. We have a situation. Explain what happened, the minimum fuel call, the emergency, the delay. He's back at facility in 20 minutes, pulls all the radio tapes. We sit in his office listening to the recordings. Every transmission, every delay, every dismissive comment from Controller A. Facility manager is livid. This is the worst controlling I've heard in 30 years. She's suspended effective immediately. I'm calling FAA regional office. Controller A is in break room. Union rep has arrived. She's telling her version. The pilot was being aggressive. I was maintaining sequence integrity. He was trying to intimidate me. He declared minimum fuel as manipulation tactic to get priority. Facility manager calls her into office, plays her the tapes. Her voice dismissing minimum fuel call. Her voice telling emergency aircraft to wait. All of it recorded, all of it documented, all of it federal violation. You're suspended pending investigation. Surrender your facility credentials. She's shocked. I was doing my job. Your job is to separate aircraft safely. You endangered an aircraft and 400,000 pounds of cargo over a city. The pilot was disrespectful. The pilot declared emergency. Your feelings don't override federal regulations. She leaves facility that night, never controls traffic again. November 9th, 2024, next morning. FAA National Transportation Safety Board opens formal investigation. Near-miss fuel exhaustion on commercial aircraft. Emergency declared. Minimum fuel advisory ignored. Potential for catastrophic accident over populated area. This is serious. This is NTSB investigation with public report. They request all recordings, all radar data, all written logs. Interview every controller on duty that night, including me. My interview lasts 3 hours. They want every detail. When did you first notice Controller A's behavior was problematic? She'd had issues with tone sensitivity before, but nothing this serious. When you heard the minimum fuel call, what was your reaction? Immediate concern. Minimum fuel requires expedited handling. Why didn't she clear him down immediately? She stated the pilot was being demanding and needed to learn patience. She said that out loud. Yes, to me, at the scope, while the aircraft was waiting for clearance. Investigator makes note. That's troubling. When he declared emergency, what happened? She told him he didn't get to jump the line. I removed her from position. You physically removed her. I pulled off her headset and took over the position, yes. Why? Because she was about to kill everyone on that aircraft and whoever they landed on. December 2024, NTSB interviews Controller A. She arrives with union attorney. They're preparing defense. Her position is that she was maintaining operational integrity. The pilot was using aggressive communication tactics. I felt he was trying to intimidate me into giving him priority. When he declared minimum fuel, I assessed it as manipulation. Investigator asks, are you qualified to assess aircraft fuel state? I can assess pilot behavior and intentions. That's not what I asked. Are you qualified to assess fuel state? No, but I can recognize when someone is gaming the system. The pilot declared emergency. That's federal regulation requirement. I believed he was exaggerating the emergency to get priority. Investigator plays the recording of her telling emergency aircraft to wait. Her voice is clear, no ambiguity, direct violation. FedEx 404, you don't get to jump the line because you're impatient. Investigator stops the tape. You told an emergency aircraft to wait. I was managing sequence flow. Federal regulation requires immediate priority for emergency aircraft. I understand, but he was being aggressive in his communication. Investigator looks at her over-reading glasses. Ma'am, physics does not care about communication tone. Fuel exhaustion occurs regardless of how politely the pilot requests descent. You violated FAA Order 7110.6, 5 paragraph 10-1-1. She's defensive. I was establishing appropriate frequency discipline. You were prioritizing your feelings over operational safety. Her attorney tries to reframe. My client felt threatened by the pilot's demeanor. Investigator is unmoved. Feelings are not relevant to emergency priority. January 2025, NTSB interviews the pilot. Captain is 56 years old, 32 years flying experience, 14,000 hours in Boeing 767. Senior FedEx captain. Clean record, no violations, consummate professional. He describes the flight from his perspective. Weather was building. We were deviating around cells. Fuel was tighter than I liked. We burned extra due to headwinds. When we checked in with Memphis approach, I was monitoring fuel closely. I requested deviation. Controller initially denied it. That concerned me because weather avoidance is safety priority. Eventually she approved it, but the delay cost us fuel. When I requested ascent, she held us at 10,000 feet. That's high altitude where we burn more fuel. I needed to get down. I advised minimum fuel to convey the time-sensitive nature. She told me everyone was low on fuel and to wait. Investigator asks, what was your reaction to that? Professional concern. Minimum fuel is not casual advisory. It means we cannot accept delay without entering emergency status. When she continued to hold us, I had to declare emergency. That's the only way to force priority handling. What was her response to your emergency declaration? Captain pauses, choosing words carefully. She told me I didn't get to jump the line for being impatient. That's when I knew I was dealing with someone who didn't understand the gravity. What did you do? I took matters into my own hands, started my descent without clearance. I had visual separation from traffic. I had the airport in sight. I was not going to run out of fuel because a controller was offended. Investigator nods. How much fuel did you land with? 1,100 pounds, about 11 minutes, well below required reserves. If the supervisor hadn't intervened, would you have made it? Captain shakes his head. No, sir, I would have flamed out over the city. February 2025, NTSB completes investigation. Report is 147 pages, technical analysis, human factors review, findings. I'm called to review draft findings, provide input as senior controller. The report is brutal in its conclusions. Finding 1. Controller prioritized personal grievance over operational priority. Finding 2. Controller violated FAA Order 7110.65 paragraph 216 regarding minimum fuel handling. Finding 3. Controller violated FAA Order 7110.65 paragraph 10-1-1 regarding emergency aircraft priority. Finding 4. Controller's actions created imminent hazard to aircraft and persons on ground. Finding 5. Only intervention by shift supervisor prevented probable fuel exhaustion accident. Recommendation section is equally severe. Recommendation 1. Immediate and permanent revocation of controller certification. Recommendation 2. FAA review of screening procedures for controller candidates regarding emotional regulation. Recommendation 3. Mandatory training on emergency priority procedures for all controllers. Report is forwarded to FAA for enforcement action. March 2025, FAA begins enforcement proceedings. Controller A receives notice of proposed certificate revocation. She has right to hearing, right to present defense. Her union represents her. They argue mitigating circumstances. Controller felt threatened by pilot's communication style. Controller was attempting to maintain operational order. Controller's actions were result of inadequate training on tone management. FAA attorney presents the facts. Radio recordings, radar data, fuel state on landing, NTSB findings. Expert testimony from senior controllers, including me. There is no scenario where telling emergency aircraft to wait is acceptable. Controller's stated rationale was feelings-based, not operations-based. This is textbook violation of fundamental ATC principles. April 2025, FAA issues final order. Air traffic control certificate revoked, effective immediately. Permanent revocation, no possibility of reissuance. She can never control traffic again. Career is over. She appeals to NTSB administrative law judge. Appeal is denied. Revocation is appropriate and warranted. She appeals to federal court. Court upholds FAA decision. Agency action is supported by substantial evidence. May 2025, it's final. Her career is over. From $142,000 air traffic controller to unemployed. No ATC facility will touch her. She's radioactive in the industry. Takes job as logistics dispatcher at trucking company, $48,000 annually. From controlling aircraft to dispatching trucks. From federal career to entry-level logistics. All because she couldn't separate her feelings from her job. Now it's February 2026. I'm in NTSB hearing room. Testifying for public session. Educating new controllers. This case is now required study material at FAA Academy. Every new controller hears this case in training. Case study. Memphis approach fuel emergency. Example of how personal factors cannot override operational priority. Her radio transmissions are played in classrooms. Students hear her telling emergency aircraft to wait. Hear her dismissing minimum fuel as gaming the system. Instructors pause the recording, ask questions. What did the controller do wrong here? Every student knows. She let feelings override procedures. What should she have done? Clear the aircraft immediately. Give emergency priority. What's the lesson? Physics doesn't care about your feelings, only about fuel state. I still work at Memphis TRACON, still GS-14, still $156,000. Still separating metal, still supervising controllers. But now I have additional duty, training coordinator. I teach the new controllers about that night. Show them the radar replay, play them the tapes. Walk them through every decision, every violation. Some of them are shocked. She really said that to emergency aircraft? Yes, it's all recorded. This is what not to do. What happened to her? Permanent revocation. She works in logistics now. And the pilot, captain, is still flying, still with FedEx, senior captain. His handling of the emergency is used as positive example. Professional communication, clear emergency declaration, took appropriate action. He didn't get angry, didn't escalate, just stated facts. Minimum fuel, then emergency, then landed safely despite controller. That's professionalism. That's how it's supposed to work. The controller who tried to kill him is case study in failure. Her name is legend in ATC community for all the wrong reasons. Don't be like Memphis controller. Don't let your ego write checks your aircraft can't cash. Don't prioritize feelings over fuel state. I think about that night, sometimes November 8th, 2024. 8 minutes between minimum fuel call and my intervention. 8 minutes where she chose tone over safety. 8 minutes that would have killed everyone if I hadn't stepped in. And I think about her now, dispatching trucks for $48,000. From $142,000 federal career to entry-level logistics. From controlling the sky to moving freight on highways. All because she couldn't accept one simple truth. That the pilot knows his fuel state better than she does. That emergency means emergency, not negotiation. That physics operates regardless of tone or feelings. She wanted the pilot to learn respect. Instead, she learned about federal regulations. She wanted to teach him patience. Instead, she got taught about consequences. She wanted to prove she was in charge. Instead, she proved she didn't belong in the chair. That's what I tell the new controllers. Your job is not to manage egos or teach lessons. Your job is to separate aircraft and get them safely on the ground. Everything else is noise, distraction, danger. The pilot who says request descent without please is no less deserving of service than the one who's polite. Because we're not waiters, we're controllers. We don't serve personalities, we serve aircraft. And aircraft don't care about feelings. They care about altitude, airspeed, and fuel. That's the lesson from Memphis, November 8th, 2024. The night a controller learned that you can't revoke physics. You can't delay aerodynamics. You can't tell fuel exhaustion to wait. You can only do your job or lose it forever. She chose wrong. And now she's case study in every ATC academy in America about what happens when ideology meets altitude. And altitude wins. Because it always does. That's my testimony. That's what I saw. That's what I'll teach. Until the day I retire. So no other controller makes the same mistake of thinking their feelings matter more than fuel.